Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Yay! Welcome to Ad America, the U.S. Embassy's American Center. Today, I would like to welcome our friends from Sekolah Pelita Harapan and also SMA Penabur Gading Serpong. Can I hear some noise from you guys? Yay! Okay. First of all, let me introduce myself. My name is Ara, and I'll be the MC for today's event. And for those of you new here, and for those of you who don't already know, Ad America is the U.S. Embassy's American Center, and our mission here is to provide a space for Indonesians like you guys to learn more about the United States through our events, programs, and also our facilities. And our event for today is SETARA English Debate with the topic of gender equality in today's world. And before we start our event, let's hear an opening remark from the Vice President of SETARA 2023. Please welcome Jehuda Alessandro Aer.
Good afternoon, everyone. Greetings to the committee of Ed America, teachers of SMN 70 Jakarta, Miss Desi and also Mr. Valen, the honorable adjudicators, the debating teams, and also the audience who have happily chosen to spend their time attending the final round of STARA 2023's English debate competition. Firstly, allow me to introduce myself. I am Jehuda Alessandro Aer as the Vice President of STARA 2023. Every year, SMN 70 Jakarta holds an annual event which is called SETARA. Peace begins with us. It's the tagline we have chosen for this year's SETARA theme. This line is referring to the Sustainable Development Goals number 16 and 17, which are peace, justice, and strong institutions, and partnership for the goals. Now, we are all assembled here to witness and participate in the grand finale of SETARA 2023's English debate competition. To the debaters here, please bring out your best argument about the motion related to SETARA's theme. Solve the problem given and inspire others to always think and contemplate about how we could create a better world for everyone witnessing your debate today. By doing so, you won't be called debaters anymore, but you'll be called peacemakers. As peacemakers in this debate, you will be inspiring others to make change and give out your arguments for a more peaceful and just world by proving how students could partner up for a unified goal. To the peacemakers here, I wish you luck on your debate, and I hope the audience who could witness one inspiring debate for change. Before I close my opening remarks, I would like to apologize for any words that may offend any parties. I'm Jehuda, representing the STARA 2023 committee, and that's all for me. Thank you for your attention, and remember, peace begins with us.
All right, thank you so much, Jehuda, for the opening remark. So, are you guys ready for today's English debate? Ready? All right, now without further ado, let's welcome our chief adjudicator for today. She is the champion of the 25th Indonesia Varsity English Debate. Please give a warm welcome for Kezia Asensio Widayat.
You would just kindly show the slides. Thank you. All right, thank you. First, thank you everyone for coming. We have our grand finalists who went through all the preliminary and all the other elimination rounds today, and therefore we're just gonna proceed with introducing the teams. First, we have the team Legally Eagles with Marvin Jesse and the first speaker, Nadia Tit. You can come forward as I announce your names, by the way. Nadia Chitatja, yeah, as the second and reply speaker, and Edward as the third speaker. Next, we have the team from SMA Penabur Gading Serpong, Juno, if you may come forward, with Kimberly and the first speaker, Kelly and the second as reply speaker, and Stephanie as the third speaker. Hey, can the teams please come forward? All right. Next, we'll be introducing the judges helping us today to decide the champions. First, we have Jones Anderson from Universitas Indonesia debating. He was the ESL semifinalist of Australs in 2023 and Uhuru Worlds 2021. He was a champion and fifth best speaker of NSDC, Purpose UPH Debate 2021, and other national competitions. And as for adjudicating, he was the best N1 adjudicator of AEO and the ACOR of Trisakti School of Management 2023, and other achievements. That's our chair adjudicator. Other adjudicators, we also have Kent Samuel Purwanto from Atmajaya Catholic University of Indonesia debating. He was the co-second runner-up of IFET 2023 and the breaking judge of HBP 2021, PDO 2021, and also OE 2023. Third and final judge for the grand finals, Rizky Ananda from Universitas Indonesia, debating. He was the open runner-up of UTM Asian Parliamentary International 2023 and also the CAP member of ALSA Ecomp UI 2023, heard just earlier this year. So now we're going to be announcing the motions. This is a context site for the second motion. It reads that positive masculinity is a set of narratives and behaviors to help men learn healthy and respectful behaviors, such as real men respect women, real men are accountable, or real men don't make women cry, etc. Moving forward then, we're going to be announcing the motions. This was a prepared motion, so the teams have case built around this. First motion reads, this House believes that feminists in developing countries should always support and endorse female politicians regardless of their policies and values. Second motion reads, as the feminist movement, this House would endorse positive masculinity as opposed to dismantling masculinity in general. Third motion reads, this House regrets the glorification of women's resilience. Since the teams have already known what the motions would be, we're going to be doing a quick motion preference, coming from the government team first. Yep. Oh, government's usually on the left, opposition's on the right. All right, government team, motion preference. 1, 3. Okay, government team bans the second motion. So we're gonna proceed with the third motion that reads, this House regrets the glorification of women's resilience. The debaters have 30 minutes to case build. Good luck, everyone. All right, thank you.
Yeah. All right. It seems that case building time is over. So we are going to start the debate soon. But before we start our debate, just a couple of housekeeping rules. First of all, I think everybody already know what PUI is. You know, in the first minute and before the 6 minute. But just be remember to PUI gently. So that is to say, don't badger PUIs to your opponent. If your opponent didn't take your POIs, you are allowed to sit down or even just stand up, but just make no sounds to not really disturb your opponent's speaker. Secondly, regarding the equity, since this event is being live streamed as well, so make sure to be respectful towards your other opponent as well. Make a speech that is quite respectful towards the minority, for example, and just make a speech that is generally that you're proud of and a very good speech in general. But no pressure though. Alrighty. So, before to start our debate, let's welcome the Prime Minister towards the speaker. Here.
Right. Good morning, good evening to all. I will start my speech in three. Okay. In three, two, one. The idea of activism and fight against something can only happen when there's a collective belief that a certain group are oppressed. And emphasizing on women's resilience and the glorification of it only creates a wrong sense of focus. Ladies and gentlemen, panels, and fellow debaters, there are 2 points of setup in this motion. Firstly, glorification on women's resilience means that you are focusing on the result rather than the barriers that exist in the very first place. And this is bad because of 2 reasons. A, in advancing of women's progressions, barriers and imbalance must be acknowledged because it is what sets women behind in the very first place. For example, when the other side of the house glorifies women resilience, for example, in the case of New Zealand's female prime minister, society will focus on how she is the prime minister of New Zealand without questioning why is there only 1% of women who can thrive in politics and why there's only one of her and not 10 in politics. And most of the cases, glorification never put any emphasis on how much and how hard these women in general have to break their backs to do campaigns, etc. And this means that barriers in women still exist and are very real for women, especially for women in this case. And our side believes that when you put emphasis on the barriers and when you put barriers on the barriers that exist, it will solve the underlying issue for women, and the glass ceiling for women can be broken under our side. But also, next point, well, because they glorify women's success, it makes it seem that as if women are not oppressed anymore, and it makes it seem that women are no longer oppressed anymore because of a few cases that they thrive. They only address the surface level without actually solving the main issue and the main barriers of why women cannot thrive, or why women are hard to thrive in these cases. We can acknowledge women's resilience, but we should not over glorify it as it doesn't solve any of the root issues that is happening. And also, public sympathy can only happen when we focus on the barriers. We we must realize that we don't undermine women's resilience. We do acknowledge, of course, but we deeply regret the overglorification of it because it makes it seem that injustices that they face are worth the result, and the injustices that they face are justified. Now, moving on to my argument. Firstly, on how overglorification doesn't dismantle the gender norms, but instead it reinforces gender stereotypes. When resilience becomes the primary focus, it can flip the progress that we have already been on. By focusing on women's resilience, society will think, oh, she's already strong, she's already stoic, she's already self-sacrificing, and therefore it increases the traditional belief that women needs to do everything by herself, and it creates regression towards the feminist movement in itself. But also, secondly, it also creates a more unrealistic expectation because now women are expected to do everything. They are expected to do house chores, and they are also expected to thrive in their careers as well. And therefore, it creates more burden to women because the expectations are becoming higher than before. Now, moving on to my second argument on how collaboration between men and women is the better solution to dismantle rigid social norms and advance feminism, and how glorification will only cause an antipathy towards women in general. There are a few layers in this case. First layer, if we only glorify women, men will feel even more less inclined to help women because because men will think that if she's so resilient, why should I do anything? And when all the praise goes to women, it creates a competition among men and women, which is and this will create an unhealthy competition because it is not an equal playing field anymore. And the context that we live in right now is that we live in a male-dominated world. Now, secondly, it will cause an antipathy because when women get all the praise and men don't, men will consider women as a competition, and it hinders the progress of feminism, and now men will feel even less sympathetic towards women. And women will feel, oh, and if women are so resilient, they can do their own thing, and I as a man will never do anything to help these strong and independent women. Now, they consider that these women as their competition. And what will happen next panels is when we put this into context in a male-dominated world where all the legislatives are dominated by men and men creates an antipathy towards women, more policies will favor women and will not and these policies will not be passed whatsoever. So what will happen is that these policies will only favor men, and now women's rights are regressing even more because no policy will be passed. And that is why collaboration between men and women is the only way to solve this, and it is the best way to solve this issue. And because when men and women are both acknowledging the underlying issues that happen, collaboration happens, and when men becomes more sympathetic towards women, then all of these policies can be passed, and it will further progress these feminist movements and these policies that actually progress women. Now, when we glorify things, it is an hyperbole which creates unrealistic expectation. And the glorification focuses on how these 1% of people success, but it will not focuses on the question on only why is it only 1% that are successful. And they emphasizes on how women's barriers still exist. It belittles the gender norms because it makes people think that, oh, women are already successful, so why should I help them in the very first place? And glorification will only create focus on the result and rather than the process in itself, and which is why we are proud to propose in this motion. Thank you.
All right, I thank the Prime Minister for that fine speech. Next, I would like to welcome the Leader of Opposition to open the case of op. Here.
Good afternoon. Hello. Good afternoon, panel, state government, and all of the audience who are here. I will be beginning my speech in 3, 2, one. Now imagine when you have achieved something big and remarkable and you heard people talking behind your back in the bathroom saying, oh, she only probably won simply because she's pretty. Oh, she won simply because her dad is like the biggest sponsor of this award or this particular event. But the reality is, little did they know how much sweat and effort and countless nights, countless of sleeping nights that you have sacrificed solely for this award. Our side of the house supports the glorification of women's resilience because we believe that women deserve to be heard and appreciated, not being backlashed and dissed for the achievements that they, as well as the dedications that they actually deserve. Now, before moving on to my arguments, let me shoot out a couple of rebuttals towards the government side. So notice that the government side has completely failed and completely misunderstands the very concept of the glorification of women's resilience itself. And the side government, notice that side government has completely fails to differentiate between the highlighting of women's success versus women's resilience. So let me give you sort of like a picturization of the whole of these two differences. So the glorification of women's success only glorifies women when they're at the peaks of their achievements, when they have won that particular award, when they have reached to become like one of the richest figure in the whole entire world. Whereas women's resilience, we are highlighting the tough and especially like. So the government side of the house has already mentioned something like about the New Zealand's prime minister, who is exposed to be incredibly tough, incredibly superior and all that. But then notice that yes, she is tough, but she's tough and capable despite all of the challenges that she has to face. Meaning that glorification of women's resilience does not only highlight their success or peaks of achievements, but it showcases and it emphasizes how she is strong, accept all the obstacles, despite all the obstacles as well as all the turbulences that they have to endure as they are climbing up to the ladders towards success. And this will be elaborated further on later on in my arguments. And also like about the side government's argument about the fact that this glorification of women's resilience is going to create more burden, this will directly clash on the arguments that we're going to be bringing out. Now, moving on to my first argument, which is about why is the glorification of resilience uniquely good and provides benefits for women? Now, two reasons. Reason number one is because it motivates women, and number two, because it creates validation for women who have gone through such hardships. Point number one, resilience gives motivation towards women, showing examples of others who are able to do the same. Now, look at Serena Williams, who became one of the most successful athletes in the world, breaking the stereotype that women are not as tough or strong as men on the court. Look at Oprah Winfrey, who became a self-made billionaire, showing women that it is possible to be financially independent. Thus, from these examples, and the reason why these incredible women have become such inspirations to the women literally at the whole parts of the world, is because their resilience, their determination, and their hardships are aired, they're exposed in the TVs, in the media, because their resilience are glorified. Thus, there is a higher likelihood on our side of the house that women will not compare, but instead they will feel just more inspired by these peoples and these examples of women who are resilient, emotionally and financially independent. In some cases, these inspirations will eventually also lead these women to act in the same way. And hence, on our side of the house, we offer women who are emotionally and financially independent and resilient due to the proliferation of more positive role models. Now, moving on to my second point, which is about the glorification of women's resilience, creating validation and inclusion for women who have gone through hardship. Now, we understand that the side government will worry that this would place burdens on individuals, and that it is likely for women that women would have to work as harder as they have to overcome hard challenges with less help from men. Now, they're going to probably say that it places expectations and burdens, as previously mentioned, but this is not true, because our framing is this. Within the context of a narrative about women's resilience, the obstacles, adversity, and challenges will still be highlighted. In fact, it is an indispensable part of the narratives, since it is an inciting event that showcases and highlights how women are resilient. Now, resilience, for it to make the narrative compelling, they must give highlight to the challenges. For women to be truly great, they have to highlight all of the hardships and not just whitewash it, because they must first acknowledge that sexism she has to face before we can applaud her achievement. Now, looking at the example of Malala Yousafzai, who won a Nobel Prize, she was resilient in empowering women education despite facing violence and threats. And how are we supposed to be making the story of Malala compelling and intriguing enough in order to make people actually feel inspired by showcasing all of such traumatic experiences that she has to face as she climbs out the ladder of success? Now, women's resilience implies that supporting women can be a collective act. Usually, in these women's resilience narratives, it is never entirely individualistic. The woman has a community of people supporting her. For example, like Malala just now, and her father, Serena Williams, and her family. Now, this gives women a push to help each other out, resulting to the rise in organizations of helping hands. For example, like women-only organizations to help victims of domestic abuse, organizations to help other women with birth, labor, parenting, preparations of motherhood, etc., as well as the feminist organizations which are more than ready to help women who struggle, therapy, psychologists, counselors, and other communities. In fact, these will proliferate with the glorification of resilience of women's narrative as obstacles are emphasized. And thus, even if there are some women who are unable to withstand that assumed societal pressure of being resilient, other people are still there to help. Now, why is validation and support for women to be vulnerable better on our side of the house? Two reasons. Reason number one, our side of the house believes that the glorification of women's resilience instead creates validation for women to overcome hardship. It simply tells the women in the world, you're not alone in this, and that the fact that we're actually in this together, since women's hardship is never going to be the same as men. Now, reason number two, gives women a sense of closure towards these hardships they have to face, which will otherwise not be addressed but on the other side of the house. This allows women to move past the issues they have faced and continue to develop and grow as people. It empowers them to overcome the lingering effect of these challenges, which could impact their emotional and mental well-being if closure is not provided. Without the glorification of women's resilience, what we will get is a glorification of men's resilience, and thus this is because we need an extra push of glorification, exaggeration of what women can do in order to counterbalance the decades-long historically embedded belief that men are superior. So proud to oppose.
All right, thank you very much for that speech as well. Just a gentle reminder for everyone. Remember that maximum speech is 7 minutes and 20 seconds, and it will be, it will be pointed out by the liaison officer as well with a clap. So take that into account. Moving forward, I'd like to welcome the Deputy Prime Minister to respond to the case of ALP. Here.
Sorry, quick question. Can I have my personal timer? Yes, okay, thank you very much. Okay. Sorry. Okay, I will start my speech in 3, 2, 1. Good evening, panels, judges, fellow debaters. Today, we hereby to debate the motion of this House to regret the glorification of women's resilience itself. First of all, I want to address that the opposition side have not understand the idea of glorification of women's resilience that have been proposed to on our side. First of all, let me clearly highlight what our definition are. First of all, the glorification of women's resilience are the glorification that creates the focus on the result rather than the process itself. Before that, moving on to my rebuttals. First of all, on their side of the house, they are saying that resilience give a motivation to these people in order for them to inspire and go even more. No, panels, as we can see, because women, these women, because they are being glorified as what the resilience are, they're becoming not relatable in this case, because what they are showing is only the good part of it, even if there are bad parts too, but it will be outshined by the good parts or by the resilience that they've been glorified before. For example, I am a high school student and I see someone in a self-made billionaire, and what you can see is that I'm not relatable with this one. I said like, oh, she has these privilege that she have, and therefore I will be like her, because she at the very first place already have these privilege thing. But in fact, the behind of it, which are not being addressed by the opposition side, is that these self-made billionaires women are been such a terrible hardship, discrimination, what happened, and it's not been addressed by the opposition side, because the opposition side has just only glorified the result, which is the self-made billionaire only, without seeing through how she is going through the hardship. So even if it gives a motivation for these students, it will not be effective. Why, panels? Because at the end of the day, this motivation will not be as relatable as our side. Because on our side, we will show these how self-made billionaires are going through such hardship in order for them to be a self-made billionaire. Yes, we acknowledge the resilience, but our highlight is how these women are being going through these such hardship, and therefore on our side, we creating a more real life example, and these people are more relatable to. And second of all, moving on to my second rebuttals on how there's other house saying that it validates to overcome the hardship, and also they will still highlight the hardship that what we are talking about here. No, panels, it will not happen on their side of the house. Why? Because as what I said earlier, let me redefine further that glorification will essentially will outshine the hardship they've been through. Glorification normalize the hardship that women currently have, and therefore men will be disengaged, and therefore these men will see that, oh, this woman already successful as what she's doing right now, and therefore men at the very first place, when men are being collaborative to women on their side of the house, there will be competition between them, as what my first speaker already said, and therefore this glorification normalize the hardship that women currently have. And moving on to my third rebuttals on how women have people and support each other, as what the opposition said. What the opposition said that women still have these people that support each other, and also have this community that already happened in the society. But panels, let us see in the reality life, the idea of activism and fight against something that we are doing right now can only happen when there's a collective belief that a certain group are being oppressed or being discriminated. But by on their side of the house, they are glorifying this women's resilience. Women will not be viewed as someone who are need to be protected, but these women will showed as something that already been successful, and therefore these on their side of the house, women will be viewed as something that is not oppressed. And emphasizing a women's resilience and glorification will create a wrong sense of focus in this case. And therefore, we regret the glorification of women's resilience. Moving on to my extension on how the over glorification of women actually demonize the women itself. So first of all, let me give a slight context of what my first speaker already said. My first speaker, I've already told you how the feminist movement and the feminist female movement in general will be regressive because of their because first of all, men will think that women already been successful, they don't need to be helped, and secondly, the competition between itself will hinder the progress the female movement already fight for decades. And moving on my extension, I will discuss how women that are not resilient will be more pressured to fit the norms. So first of all, my first speaker already told you about how the glorification of women's resilience will create a more unrealistic expectation because the glorification of what the motion is about. So first of all, glorification of women's resilience will create a norm that all women are resilient itself. Because first of all, women are already resilient itself, the glorification makes that. And secondly, because that glorification, women are being expected to do more things. they are expected to doing house chores, they are expected to doing thrive in their careers, or they are being expected to thrive in politics as well. So let us see in the new perspective on how these women, they are not considered are not considered resilient in self, which are not being defined by the opposition team on how resilient these women are. They are setting a new unrealistic standard that makes women push to do as what expectation as what the opposition have already said. So let us see the worst case that have been done from the opposition side. So when there are certain women that are choose to, for example, to be in household or housewife itself, it contradicts with the standard that have been made in the society as a result of the glorification of the norm itself. And therefore, these unresilient women will be oppressed by the society because these women simply cannot meet the expectation of what the society have right now. And therefore, it creates a more regressive impact because not only these women are being more expected to do something, but these unresilient women that have been defined by these opposition team will becoming more oppressed. And therefore, in conclusion, There's Other House will not create any progress or any female movement that have been progressive to the society. And all my rebuttals have rebutted all their arguments, and therefore our argument still stands strongly. Thank you very much.
I thank the Deputy Prime Minister for that speech. Now I'd like to welcome the Deputy Leader of Opposition to respond to the case of golf. Here.
Hello.
Am I audible? I will begin my speech in 3, 2, 1. Panel, there seems to be a bit deadlock on the issue and the definition of resilience of women, right? And the glorification of a resilience of women. So I'm here to define what it means exactly on our side and prove why our definition is more likely on our side of the house. Firstly, we're talking about resilience, right? That is what we are glorifying in this case. What does resilient mean? Well, the word in itself means tough. It is a synonym of tough. But how do you know whether women are tough or not? Because of the obstacles they've overcome. Obstacles, barriers, and challenges are part of the challenge because without them, how do we know whether women are tough and how do we know whether their success is actually successful, right? The whole entire reason of a women's resilience narrative is to showcase that they've overcome the issue and the society that they're born in which there's a gender wage gap, and there's discrimination, there's sexism, and there's harassment in the workforce. All of those things women have overcome to get into the positions of power and success that they are in. And that is why, to effectively highlight the result, it is key to also highlight the process. They're indispensable and they are together. Let me provide a picturization of this, okay? Recently, there was a documentary released. It was called She Said, and it was a documentary highlighting the sexual abuse countless of women faced at the hands of Harvey Weinstein, who is a very successful director who had abused and discriminated and sexually abused women for a long time. However, none of these women were brave enough to speak up because of the challenges that faced them, because a powerful man was the one who had sexually abused them, and so they couldn't speak up against this type of person because this type of person has more credence in the film industry. Since the film industry is male dominated, these women were in a culture where they were too afraid to speak up. However, with the creation of one reporter who was brave enough to go through all these women and talk to them and ask them their stories to share what really happened to them, these women were finally collectively brave enough to speak up once they knew that other women were speaking up. And so the narrative was that these women were resilient because in the spite of an industry giant, they were facing a male-biased industry, they were brave enough to speak up against it, and they were brave enough to risk their lives or risk their careers to actually talk against the men. No, thank you. So that is what resilience means on our side, and that is more likely. Why is it relatable? We acknowledge that the success that these women experience may not be relatable, but you know what is relatable? The obstacles that women face. And we believe that even though we see a self-made billionaire and we see that, oh yeah, the self-made billionaire may not be relatable, we believe that if you just look at the struggles that the billionaire had to go through, the countless rejections by investors, maybe accusations of how she perhaps maybe she used her beauty to actually influence the investors, things like that, that the woman was able to become successful despite all of these accusations and struggles, we believe that
that part is relatable. And if that can provide a sense of closure and validation, as my first speaker has stated, then we believe it is worth it to already glorify and highlight these narratives. As my first speaker has stated, and as the side government has failed to engage with, we have talked about how the glorification of women's resilience can give validation and support for women to be vulnerable on our side. Now, I would like to extend this argument, and let's talk about their counterfactual, which they have not provided a detailed picturization of. No, thank you. So, without the glorification of women's resilience, what will we get? Well, what they've proposed is a collaboration between men and women, but they've provided no realistic mechanism as to how they would achieve this on their side. It seems like abstract rhetoric. It seems like a utopic characterization, but they have no specific likelihood analysis as to how this would happen on their side. We believe that the more realistic portrayal is this. Patriarchy exists on both sides. If you have no glorification of women's resilience, then you will get glorification of men's resilience, since that is already pre-existing. So we need to acknowledge that women's resilience is more applaudable because of the societal factors that are balanced out against them. So we would like to propagate the concept of equity versus equality, because equity is acknowledging that these women need more help because these women are already at a disadvantageous position in society. And so this glorification is necessary to put them on the same level with a male. So that's what we're seeking. But even if there's no glorification of men's resilience on their side, what exists? There is no criticisms of the underlying mechanisms of the country. The status quo is already that there's a patriarchy existing. But if there's no glorification of the women's resilience narrative, and there's no glorification of that narrative, then the struggles women go through, as we have said on our side, are not highlighted and signified. The current status quo is that the media or the narrative is usually controlled by the men. And if we're just not trying to push further for it, because women are already at a disadvantageous situation, women will not speak up because they need to see that in media, there are these figures, there are these role models who exist and who can achieve that position. They need to know that it is possible to reach that level. If they do not know that, then these women who are not like initiators, they will not speak up. And what is side government trying to propagate anyway? They talk about only acknowledging the resilience of women without glorifying it. But what does that look like on their side? Are they going to instead highlight a sad, depressing narrative of the struggles that women go through every day without showing the outcome and without showing women that they can actually overcome these struggles? What are they providing on their side? They don't seem to have a realistic characterization of what they're actually going to offer, and their mechanism is not realistic and has no likelihood analysis. While on our side, we provided more incentive for political structures to let women in, we highlight oppression and sexism, and we inspire other women to be resilient and get through problems. Let me do a short analysis of change. So when there's a narrative, these narratives that are glorified of women's resilience that are glorified, women start speaking up about their struggles, right? This causes a sense of relatability, and other women will slowly start to speak up. That is a collective effort, and that is a community effort, and it is not an individualistic effort. And the successes may not be common, as I've said, but obstacles usually are. And with these people all speaking up, like for example in the She Said movement or the Me Too movement, as we have seen, change starts to be made. No, thank you. And currently realize that because of narratives of women resilience, women have never been more empowered than before. And the thing is, they keep repeatedly saying that, oh, these women need to be seen as oppressed in order to be helped with. But then aren't they feeding into their narrative that men need to help women and that they need the help of women, they need the help of men? We need to realize that when men see women as competition, that is when inequality actually happens. Because when men see women as competition, they see women as, oh yes, this woman is capable enough to get the job that I want. This woman is capable enough to achieve the things that I want to achieve in life. And so I respect her as my equal, and I see her as a strong woman who can actually achieve all of these things. But if the belief that they're trying to propagate on their side is underestimation or sympathy, then it is not real equality, and therefore goes against their entire stance of feminism. Thank you.
I thank the deputy leader of opposition for that speech. Now I'd like to welcome the government whip to respond to the case of up. Here.
I will set my own timer. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, panels, fellow debaters, I will start my speech in 3, 2, 1. Ladies and gentlemen, it is ridiculous that they simplify women's issues and try to solve complex issues by only simplifying women's resilience and glorifying their success without emphasis on the injustices that they face. As our side of the house has already said, our goal
ultimately, for both sides, is to dismantle rigid gender norms and give both men and women equal rights. However, on their side of the house, it will never happen due to the lack of collaboration among men and women, simply glorifying women's resilience or success with no underlying emphasis on the root issues that women face and the injustices that women go through. They never actually give a solution to solve the real issues and only focus on the surface level solutions. Moving on to my points of clashes, which is first of all how glorification becomes a norm and how this is problematic, because the idea of women's resilience simply undermines the glass ceiling's existence. The glass ceiling being the invisible barrier in which women cannot make breakthroughs because of the lack of collaboration with men, and instead they only have competition with men. And we've already said before in our first and second speaker how this competition is unhealthy because the playing field is unequal, and how women will be discriminate the women who aren't successful. If the goal is to advance the feminist movement, your side only glorifies the norm that women should face through struggles and encourages women to be endlessly resilient, and they get this peer pressure to always have to go through and endure through all these struggles, and that the justification of this, that you justify that this struggle is worth it in the end because of the success that they end up getting in the end. My second point of clash is on acknowledgement. We don't undermine women's resilience. We do acknowledge that women often face lots of hardships, but we deeply regret the over-glorification of making it seem as if the injustices that they're faced are worth the result. My third point of clash is about validation. You say that the validation will make it so that women have more relatability to these types of resilience that they face, but actually this is, as we've already said in our first and second speaker, unrealistic expectations will actually happen, and you say that this won't be likely. We have already rebutted that by saying that the likelihood of this happening is true because women have to live up to those unrealistic standards. And about our rebuttal from before that you did not accept, which is that panels, their choice of definition is clearly flawed, because when they are defining resilience as tough, this means that they normalize the hardships that women go through. And this is bad in our case because of the base of our argument, as we've already said, that glorification normalizes the hardships that women currently have, and the men are now incentivized to disengage, and women are designed to endure pain, not men. And women are told that they have to work, and they have to work harder, 10 times harder than men. On your side of the house, you justify women's endurance to gain success instead of actually solving the root issues that are caused by gender norms. And you say that it'll be that political campaigns will be harder to get into because the women will be more incentivized to go into it. But we have already said on our first speaker and our second speaker that without the collaboration among men and women, this will never happen. We are focusing, our side of the house focuses on the bigger picture instead of glorifying the single resilience of these one in a million anomalies, like you said before, like Malala Yousafzai. We acknowledge that there's injustice, and I'd like to provide a better picturization about this using an analogy. On your side of the status quo dictates that women are driving on a bumpy road while men are driving on a smooth road. Your side of the house aims to give both men and women a better car, while our side of the house aims to fix the foundation and fix the road for women. And as we've already said, how you simplify and you only generalize the complexities that women face. Women go through lots of different types of struggles, different types of glorification, and you only glorify the idea that women are resilient, and you discriminate against women who choose to be a housewife. They are demonizing this, and this is a boomerang effect on the feminist movement itself that regresses the feminist movement. So on your side of the house, the goal of destroying and dismantling these rigid gender norms will never be solved, and that is why, as we've already said, it is ridiculous that you would even simplify women's issues and try to solve these complex issues by only simplifying the women's resilience and glorifying their success. As we've already said, our mechanism, which clearly this house believes that this house regrets motion, and we define our mechanism as that we will want collaboration amongst men and women so that we can make breakthroughs against this invisible barrier, as in the glass ceiling that we've already described beforehand. And that glorification creates a norm that women do not deserve to be protected because they're resilient enough to persevere through these hardships. And while we do not undermine this capability for women to be strong, the overemphasis on the resilience will only lead to an unwanted pressure that women should never be helped because they're already independent anyway. And as we've already said in our points of clashes on how we do not agree about the definitions of glorification, as we've already defined in our characterization on our first speaker, that glorification only normalizes the hardships that women currently have. and it creates unrealistic expectations. When society places too much emphasis on women resilience, it creates unrealistic expectations, and this can also affect the women themselves, which can lead to burnout and mental health issues. For them, they're always expected to endure and overcome all this resilience without actually getting any support from men or any support from other women, because they're inspired to just face through all this alone and endure through all this pain and suffering alone. The glorification inadvertently perpetuates gender inequalities by suggesting that women should simply just tolerate adversity rather than addressing the root causes, which we have already said we will clearly fix and solve in our mechanism, which is the collaboration amongst men and women, which will perpetuate a better standard for both, and it's a win-win solution. And how the root causes of discrimination and bias on your side of the house will never be solved. You guys do not solve the systematic issues, the root problems that are perpetuated, that the norm that women should always face through these hardships alone without being helped, because they're independent women. As we've already characterized, competition will be unhealthy on your side of the house, because when these men consider these women as a competition because, oh, they're all so resilient, they're so independent, we don't need to help them, and we never need to cater to we never need to cater to their hardships, because they're always enduring so much and they can face through all this alone on their own. They don't need any help from the men. Then this competition will be unhealthy, because the playing field has never been equal in the first place, and you guys are making it even worse. When it used to be 1-to-1, they're now making it 1-to-2, where as in women are having more benefits, but it doesn't help the side where the collaboration should in fact be helpful on undermining the vulnerability that women, like anyone else, have moments of vulnerability, and they should not constantly feel pressure to display this resilience, and the overemphasis makes it only more difficult for women to express their emotions, seek help when needed. The over-glorification of resilience undermines their vulnerability, which is why I'm proud to say that we are proposing in this motion. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much for that fine speech. And to respond to the case of prop, I'd like to welcome the opposition whip. Here.
Good afternoon, panel. Good afternoon, government. I'll be starting my speech in 3, 2, 1. In a world where the spotlight on women's resilience shines brightly, a transformative narrative emerges, one that empowers, inspires, and validates. Today, we delve into why the glorification of women's resilience isn't just a call for applause. It's a beacon of motivation and a pathway to greater well-being. But beyond motivation, it is also the key to unlocking a balanced narrative that doesn't just glorify men's resilience, but elevates women, highlighting their unique struggles and inspiring change. Panel, the two clashes that I would like to bring to this debate are: one, which side of the house better protects the vulnerable actors, and two, which side of the house brings more benefits. In the first clash, our side of the house stated that obstacles and challenges are essential components of narratives about women's resilience, highlighting how women overcome adversity. And we also said that emphasizing these challenges is crucial to avoid glossing over hardships and to acknowledge the sexism women face. Side government may argue that, it creates a perfect model that is unreasonable to set or achieve for the majority of women. This is not true, given the fact that we are highlighting the challenges, and it is not a perfect model given that we're highlighting the flaws and challenges that they have to go through and that they have to overcome. And even if we don't highlight these challenges or hardships perfectly, those expectations that government side is convinced of, such as taking care of house tasks and while still having a successful professional career, that still exists. This is inexclusive, given the fact that those expectations exist regardless of us glorifying women or not. And furthermore, our side of the house also argues that women's resilience often involves collective support, ensuring assistance for women who may struggle with societal pressures. It provides women with closure regarding past hardships, allowing them to grow and develop while addressing emotional and mental well-being concerns. The side government said that, this will only create a wrong sense of focus, only focusing on results. Our house emphasized that it is glorifying resilience, not result. There is a difference. There's a difference. It is about the journey,
POI.
not only. No, It is about the journey and not only about the result. Notice, panel, that they introduced their parameter in their second speaker and yet failed to address the urgency of the motion. And furthermore, they said that, oh, we make it seem that, our side of the house make it seem that they're not oppressed anymore. This is not true, given the fact that, as my previous speakers already explained, that we are gonna highlight these hardships. We're gonna highlight all these challenges. So an example of this is actresses who speak out on their sexual abuse experiences. Okay, we may glorify, no, we may glorify their achievements such as winning an Oscar or winning a Golden Globe, but we also give them the platform to speak out about their hardships and their sexual abuse experiences. And through this, then our society and people would know of these challenges that they face, and people would know that they would have to go through all these hardships to reach where they are. So, panel, our house thinks side government is confused with what they are arguing for. And furthermore, we only bring, side government also said that we only bring the positive sides. Not true at all, given the fact that we already said that we want to emphasize on the fact that these women go through hardships, and those are not perfect at all. Those are not only the good sides. In fact, those are the bad sides. And furthermore, side government also stated, and I quote, "We want to show hardships." Thank you for agreeing with us. Thank you for agreeing with us. For resilience is going through hardships, persevering through hardships. So thank you for agreeing with us. And why do we win this clash? We win this clash because we better protect the vulnerable actors, while side opposition fails to even correctly frame their arguments. And furthermore, in the second clash, side government also stated that, they're focused on creating empathy. How? And they also said that, we're focused on collaboration between men and women. How? They failed to explain how this applies on their side. Furthermore, in terms of collaboration between men, don't you think that women who reach these achievements would have the medium, would have the status to then collaborate with men who are successful? Glorifying these achievements give women the status to collaborate with men. Thus, it is inexclusive as well, and we provide that benefit. And furthermore, side government also said that instead of benefiting women, it will demonize women. How? Again, they failed to explain the harm of this. And they also stated, and I quote, "We are simplifying hardships." Again, this has been rebutted by all of my teammates and by myself. In the second clash, our side of the house stated that, glorifying women's resilience serves as motivation and validation for women who have faced hardships. And without such glorification, women may feel like failures and continue comparing themselves to others. And highlighting women's resilience reminds them of their ability to persevere through challenges regardless of their outcome. And both sides acknowledge the existence of patriarchy. Without glorifying women's resilience, there's a risk of glorifying men's resilience, which already prevails given our status quo. So again, why do we win this clash? We win this clash because the status quo shows that women need the extra support, and that and why do we win this clash? Because we provide more benefit, as it will inspire other women. And even if someone like, let's say, Oprah Winfrey, which is mentioned by my teammate, is a rare case, a top 1%. Would you rather a society that tells women they're not going to be appreciated of what they have achieved, or would you rather a society that said that, should you achieve these achievements, we will appreciate you and you will be glorified? Our side spread the more positive message as compared to side government. And weighing the debate, side government fails to address the urgency and mischaracterizes the motion, while our side protects the vulnerable actors and prevents the benefits for women, thus presenting the urgency of this debate. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much for that fine speech. To close the entire opposition bench, I'd like to welcome the opposition reply. Here.
Am I audible? Hello? Am I audible? Panel, I will begin my speech in 3, 2, 1. Side government seems to misunderstand repeatedly at times what they are arguing for in specifically. For example, Their first speaker, in her criticism of our case, said that our case normalizes successes. But their third speaker, in her speech, says that our case normalizes hardships on the case of women. So which one is it, and what are they criticizing? Another thing that side government has tended to do throughout this entire debate is throw around terms without any specific elaboration as to what they mean by the terms. For example, their third speaker mentioned about how they address the root causes. What root causes are they talking about in this case, and how is our case only surface level? They throw out an analogy about how that they're gonna fix the road, fix the bumps in the road while we only give them better cars. What do they mean by that, and what is their elaboration? Now, panel, if you buy into the case of side government, you are buying into their utopic rhetoric and unrealistic characterization of their mechanism. Let me ask you this. If collaboration with men is the solution, then why has it not happened? If collaboration with men is achievable, then why is it that till today there is no such thing happening yet, on a large scale at least? And finally, can we still not collaborate with men, even with the glorification of women's narratives going about? It is not mutually exclusive, and there is no real process analysis as to why, if we glorify women and their narratives and their capacities more, men will start to feel threatened. Those men who feel threatened at the success of women are probably just alpha males who aren't secure in themselves anyway, so why would we want their help, right? So now, let me begin into the entire clash of this debate. And let's check, panel, you should evaluate this debate by number one, the likelihood of their mechanism. As we have proved, how will they support women? They provide no actual mechanism as to how they support women besides saying a brief, oh, we're gonna have women and men collaborate. But as we have proved, it is not realistic and it is not as achievable as all that. Next, the next clash in this debate was the effects on women. They talk about how the effects of glorification of resilience will actually just lead to pressure on our side of the house, while on their the effects of glorification of women will only lead to pressure, while we believe that it will actually lead to inspiration for more women. Which one is more realistic and which one has higher likelihood? Well, when we're talking about inspiration of women, we have seen this actually happening in society with women empowerment movements such as the Me Too movement and the She Said documentary. As I have already mentioned in my second speaker's speech, there's an analysis for change because women's resilience narratives sheds light on issues, and as my third speaker has mentioned, women usually speak up as a community. It becomes a collective effort between millions and thousands of women who rally together to speak up of the common issues they face day to day. Well, let's talk about what they propose on their side, which is pressure, and that women will be expected to do more, that they will be expected to do chores and their career, etc. Well, is this realistic? Well, let's put yourself in the perspective of women. If you're a woman and you see a documentary about a woman becoming a billionaire and becoming successful, how do you feel like? Do you feel pressured? And do you feel like, oh, I wish I didn't see this because now I feel demotivated and now I feel like, oh, I'm not as capable as this woman and I just feel really insecure about myself? Is that usually what normal women would feel like? No, they would see this billionaire who has overcome so many challenges and go like, wow, I want to be her and I will work towards that. At least that's what a normal, or like what on our side is proposing, what a normal woman would react like if they actually see woman empowerment on a screen. They would also feel empowered, they would also feel motivated, and thus, in terms of effects on women, we propose a more realistic effect. Next, we need to talk about what they said in their first speaker and their mechanism that they have said. They said that we will not undermine women's resilience, we will just acknowledge it. But realize, panel, that with a realistic characterization of the patriarchy, you cannot do this and you cannot get the best of both worlds because it is almost impossible to just acknowledge and appreciate women's resilience without highlighting it because it will not get as much coverage. That is how the patriarchy works and that is how males who operate the narratives work. That is the realisticness of today. And our side has repeatedly emphasized urgency. Our side has repeatedly emphasized the need to protect the vulnerable actors, that is women. The urgency in this case is that there's a patriarchy existing and it is difficult to overcome that patriarchy, and that is why we need the glorification of women. Because it is like this. Two people are standing trying to look over a fence. One is taller and one is shorter. Are we going to give them the same height of boxes, or are we going to give the shorter person a taller box to look over the fence? The shorter person in this case is women, and the taller box is the glorification that we are giving to them. And that is why we propagate equity. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much for that speech. Now, to end the entire debate, I'd like to welcome the proposition reply. Here.
I'll start my reply speech in 3, 2, 1. First of all, panels, let us today highlight it. First of all, our motion today is this how regret the glorification of women's resilience. While on our side, we believe that the glorification that itself had is the glorification of the result of it without having the hardship that been acknowledged to, even though we have already rebut their side by saying that the glorification that even if the glorification of what their definition is about acknowledging this hardship and any other things, but we're already saying that the glorification will only simplify the fact that these women are being successful, and therefore with the glorification that they have in mind, they are going to making this people are being more resilient and even success without really acknowledging the hardship that they've been through at the end of the day. So first of all, let us talk about the stances that we have right now. On our side, we believe on one stances that we regret the glorification of women's resilience, and what we are focusing on is not just the resilience, we just acknowledging it, but we are also focusing on how these women go through such hardship and why this has only happened to our side. We already rebut this many times towards our speakers, because on our side we are not over glorifying it, and therefore on our side it will be highlighted well in our side. That's why our stances are more stronger and on their side. While on their side, their first speaker talking about their glorifying of the hardship that they want to they want to glorify is the hardship, and the second speaker just contradicts the glorifying hardship is bad, because when we are glorifying over glorifying the hardship, it creates a bad stigma towards it, and it's already clearly stated by the second speaker. And the third speaker saying that they are acknowledging the hardship, which is which is the third speaker, are proven to support on our side, which are on our side, we are acknowledging the hardship and also focusing on the hardship, not just the result that they've been made. And therefore, there are a few points why the proposition team winning in this debate. First of all, I want to highlight further on their definition. Their definition about the glorification that means tough or resilient in their case have only been rebutted by our side by saying that this glorification will outshine this toughness that they've been made, and it normalized women's hardship, and therefore making this man things like, oh, these women can overcome this hardship despite all the disadvantage, and therefore on our purpose is that to make this women make this women's right to be upheld will not be achieved under this other house. And second of all, our definition about the glorification itself is to acknowledge the hardship and not focusing on the result itself, have not been engaged by the opposition side, and therefore it clearly stated that the opposition side are too flawed to engage with our side. And third of all, I want to highlight how there are two main points in this case. While on the opposition side, they're saying that, oh, it's okay to have a competition because it makes women the same level as men. But we already rebutted by saying that competition will hinder the progress, panels. Why? Because competition itself, it will create a man that push the woman towards a lower level in order for them to not being in the same level as men. And it's already been rebutted by our first and second speaker. And fourth of all, the collaboration. It is a very funny panels because the opposition time have clearly different views on collaboration. First of all, the first speaker say that, oh, this collaboration will not be happen whatsoever, and the third speaker have clearly stated that, okay, there will be actually collaboration on their side of the house. But we already said that why collaboration is exclusive on our side, because collaboration will not happen unless collaboration will not happen against of competition, because when their side have competition there are no collaboration. And therefore why collaboration are better, because in this case in a man dominated country where in order for policy to pass they need people to be passed, and therefore on our side collaboration competition better. And thank you very much.
All right, thank you everyone. Thank you everyone for that speech, and that marks the end of the debate and the grand final of SETARA 2023. Give me and the other panel some time for the deliberation, and I think we can go towards recess for now. So yeah, thank you everyone.
Okay. All right. Test. Hi. Could I please have everyone's attention? Hi. Congratulations, everyone, for finishing the grand finals of EDCS 2023. Hopefully, all of the participants, not only the grand finalists, but all the other teams that made it here are also complete because we're going to be announcing the top 10 best speakers, the third place winner, and also the champion and the runner up of EDCS 2023. If we call your name, please come on the stage so we can take a picture with everyone who achieved the awards. But moving on, then, we're going to continue with the announcements. If anyone would so kindly go to the next slide. Next slide, please. All right. Okay, first, we're going to be announcing the top 10 best speakers. First, we have 3 people in co-ninth best speaker because that's how competitive it was, how tight it was. First, announcing the 3 co-ninth best speakers. Yeah. Oh, sorry, thank you. First, the three Conan best speakers. It goes to 3 people. First, Marvin Jesse from Balita Harapan. Second, Nikki from SMAN 109 Jakarta, and Ray Shifa from SMAN 15 Tangerang. Congratulations! Only one of them is here. Grand applause. All right. All right. Next, a few people in co-sixth best speaker. 3 people. First goes to Edward from Balita Harapan. Can come on stage. Next, we have Labita Quini Rashisa from SMA Garuda Cendekia SKQ. And also Raziel Arogin from ACS XJIS JRC. Congratulations. Next, in co-fourth, we have 2 people. The first being Jonathan from the ACS XJIS. Also Kelly Valerie from SMA Kapanambur GS Juno. Congratulations. Go on. In the third best speaker, we have Kimberly Annette from SMA Kapanambur GS Juno. Congratulations. Second best speaker goes to Stephanie Kurniawan from SMA Kapanambur GS Juno. Finally, our overall best speaker goes to Nadia Putri from Pelita Harapan. Congratulations. We have the top 10 best speakers. If the committee would be so nice to give them the certificates. Echi, Lea, Scar. All right, there you are. Yeah, sorry. Thank you so much, everyone. Congratulations. The certificates for everyone else will be sent by the organizing committee. Okay. Thank you. Back, back, back. Thank you, everyone. Next, we have the announcements for the results of the third place battle. It was a battle between ACS and SMA Garuda Cendekia. The third place in a unanimous decision by 3 judges goes to, congratulations, ACXXJIS, JRC. If you may please come on stage so we could give you the certificates. Thank you. Congratulations. Final announcement for the day. We have the results of the grand finals. All right, since we still have the chair, the judge from the grand finals with us today, Jones, if you may come on stage and tell us the decision, the champion, the runner-up, and also the grand finals best speaker. All right. Yeah.
All right. So yeah, for the runner-ups, congratulations to, right? So we still congratulations to SMK Penabur Guest Juno. So if you guys can go on stage. All right. Also a little introduction before announcing the champion. So in the grand final round, battling against in the grand final round, there's SMAK Penabur Guest Juno as proposition, and then there's Pelita Harapan as opposition. Judging with me were the wonderful panels of Rizky Ananda and also Ken Samuel Purwanto. We came to a unanimous decision. Congratulations to Pelita Harapan. All right, and the final announcement regarding the grand final best speaker. It was also a unanimous decision, and the result for the grand final best speaker is Nadia from Pelita Harapan. May come towards the stage.
that concludes all the winner announcements for today. Thank you so much, everyone, for participating, for coming to support the grand finals of SETARA, to the organizing committee, to Ad America, and Mercy, and thank you, everyone. We'll see you next year.
Okay. Thank you, Kezia. All right. Thank you so much, everyone. So, how did everyone? Did you guys have fun? Did you guys have a lot of fun? All right. So, I would like to say congratulations to all winners today, and also thank you, everyone, for joining and attending our event for today. So, if you guys had fun and want to attend more events here in At America, or perhaps want to collaborate with us here in At America, you can follow our social medias at AT America, and also maybe visit our website at www.atamerica.or.id for more information and also our event updates. Once again, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today, and see you soon at the next At America event. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.